Potentia Wealth brings you the Power of Wealthness podcast.
If you've read the headlines recently about commercial real estate, you would think it's absolutely dead, catastrophic, cataclysmic. Whatever superlative you can come up with to say something is absolutely atrocious has been used. But then the funny part is, you change the channel, you swipe to the next podcast, you turn the page, and you hear how it's the best time ever, once in a lifetime opportunity. Reminds me of my favorite song from U2. Starts with the opening lyric, is it getting better or does it feel the same? That's how many investors in commercial real estate feel right now. They're confused. Welcome to the Power of Wealthness podcast. I'm Todd Barney, joined with my co-host, Kevin Swanson, and Susan Caccia, CEO of Caccia Properties. Today, we're going to go beyond the headlines. Susan has spent the last 15 years in commercial real estate, actually in the trenches, doing deals, working with buyers and sellers. She's worked across the country and in multiple sectors of commercial real estate, and she's going to tell us what's really happening behind the curtain. Susan, thanks for joining us today.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Todd.
Welcome.
Thanks, Kevin.
So before we get started, I have to ask, how did you end up in commercial real estate?
Great question. So I kind of stumbled upon it on accident, actually, because, as you know, my husband, Gino Caccia, he is a plumber. And I'm going to rewind it back to 15 years ago when we first got married. Here's this guy working hard for his family every single day. There are days that he would come home and dinner's on the table, and I'd have to take spider webs out of his hair. Obviously he has spider webs in his hair because he had gel in his hair because he's Italian going to work. But he'd be under a house for, 10 hours, repiping water lines and drain lines. So he'd be doing work all day. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. He's providing for a family. I was so in awe of him, really humbled by him every day. And then we decided, hey, there's a lot of active income coming in from all the good work they're doing. And how do we as a family create passive income? And what better way to do that than real estate? And it also created a lot of tax benefits to our family. So that's kind of how it started. And my husband and I, we did it together side by side. He kept making active income with his plumbing company. And then it was my job to diversify that with acquiring different things in commercial real estate. And then, one day we looked and we're like, hey, we're doing really great in real estate. And we were able to create all this passive income for our family. And, we call it quote unquote mailbox money, right? And my friends, and I was sharing that knowledge because I think if it's working for us, I want to be able to share that with my community. As you know, I'm really, really involved in my community. And let my friends and family know, it's not rocket science. The formula is pretty straightforward. Obviously, I'm good at math. I mean, look at me. Just kidding. But
Hello Kitty gave it away.
But beyond the spreadsheets, there's so many deals out there, and just living in that mindset of abundance. And that's how I started helping friends and family. I got licensed, and then I work on a referral basis, as you know, and I started helping new investors and also investors that have been doing commercial real estate for a very long time that wanted to switch gears and partner with somebody like me.
It was 15 years ago. You didn't just take your active income and go out and buy a Class A piece of property. What was the genesis of that?
Yeah, sure. Just to rewind a little bit, the week I got married, I was on our roof. We lived in a house, a bungalow style home in San Mateo, California, 1,050 square feet. We ended up having to move because we have 3 kids. We're like, we need a little more space. But during that time,
want to stack them on top of each other?
I'm very blessed because I have this unique lens. I've worked in pest control. I've worked inside, of course, the plumbing space. I've switched out a roof. So I have this great firsthand knowledge of what it takes to kind of the health and wellness of a building and structure. So the first investment that we made was multifamily. And that rolled into something that became commercial space. And then we acquired other things like other assets like gas stations, more multifamily, invested in syndications, OZ funds. So just evolved into not just one type of asset, but really exploring what's best for us at that time. And that can change month to month, year to year, as you know, as the market changes and evolves, where you're going to put your money is going to change.
So it wasn't buy a property, get rich. It was continuing to put active income into passive real estate, continuing to invest in that, continuing to roll it over, continuing to build over decades.
And you guys know more than anyone, I think money is a living, breathing organism, right? You always have to nurture it. You always have to be monitoring it, making sure that it's working for you, right? And leveraging healthy debt and knowing when to invest, what to invest in. But yeah, absolutely. We want to we're going to trade up when the opportunity is there. We're not going to let it sit stagnant. We're always going to look at it on a quarterly basis. All the investors I work with, I look at what they're holding on a quarterly basis. A lot of times I'm connecting with, their wealth managers as well and saying like, hey, this is what they have in their holdings, in their real estate holdings. This is the depreciation that's available for them. Let's kind of create an approach that is more of a holistic approach.
That's an interesting thing, actually. I want to throw a question to you, Kevin, because Susan brought up something very interesting: diversification of the assets, bringing it into the financial plan, depreciation, tax, financial planning. How do you incorporate that into your process?
So all of that is part of the financial planning process. It's really taking a look at the holistic picture, including assets that we don't manage, which might be, your income real estate, your commercial real estate, or other pieces. Really taking a look at all of those things and making sure that we've got, particularly when we're looking at commercial real estate, that we've got liquidity. You need the liquidity to make repairs on the property or to deal with a vacancy or to to purchase your next piece of property. So having that balance of real estate and liquid assets is really important.
No, absolutely. It's been interesting getting ready for this and preparing. And Susan, to your credit, as being such a good friend as well, always recommending commercial real estate. I caught something today that was just outlandish, I thought. And it was a radio commercial saying, pair your real estate with Bitcoin. Get the safety of real estate and the upside of Bitcoin in the same investment opportunity. You focus on the actual physical property. So, what is it about the physical real estate that makes it so attractive compared to something like that?
There are a lot of different, I want to say, quote unquote, real estate investment vehicles that exist. There are syndications where you can put money in and then get a K1 at the end of the year. There are REITs that are available where you just put money in, kind of like purchasing a stock. You can invest in OZ funds, Bitcoin backed things. There's anything you can think of, it probably exists. The thing I like about owning and like the tangible property is that there are huge benefits when it comes to depreciation. So when you are in those active money making years, you want to make sure that your real estate is working for you in a way that it's going to help you build wealth. And I'm not just saying wealth for yourself, but generational wealth. So I think it provides you with money and stability today, but also sets you up for the future. It has to go hand in hand with your overall portfolio, right?
Yeah. So you talked about a number of different types of commercial real estate. And whenever I think most people hear commercial real estate, they think of the Class A office space
Sure, sure.
downtown. You mentioned gas stations, income properties. I mean, what qualifies as a commercial real estate, and what are the different types of investments out there that are available?
Yeah, great question, Kevin. Yeah, I work in, we call it CRE, commercial real estate, and anything that is not a single family home, I would say is commercial real estate. Any real estate, it could be a land deal, it can be office space, as you're describing, it could be multifamily, 5 units and above. That's commercial real estate. And the big impact is the lending is different on commercial real estate versus residential. Because residential, they're going to be looking at the credit of that individual. Whereas when you're looking at commercial real estate, they're looking at, of course, your individual. They want to see your PFS, your personal financial statement, but they also want to see the health of that building to make sure that building is going to be an asset that will either make income, appreciate. So that way, when the underwriting happens, they know, the bank knows they're making a sound financial investment as well.
It's interesting. It's there's so many conflicting headlines out there. Today, I was reading it as well. That they said that the vacancy rate in office is over 14% in the top 25 metro areas. So
Sure,
it's near or at all-time high
sure.
in office. Where is the best opportunity now, since you do see deals taking place across the board?
When office vacancies are really high, I would say buy office.
The contrarian investor.
Yes. It's aggressive, but you're going to see an upswing, and office you can see conversions happening because cities, I think, there's housing demand that still exists in the United
And when you
States.
say conversion, you mean conversion from an office space to like condos.
Correct. Yeah. So there are just a lot of opportunities. But for, office, that's absolutely right. There are a lot of vacancies inside of office. However, I don't see when I work with clients on the leasing side, and I'm helping them find space and creating, long-term leases, 3-year, 7, 10, 20-year leases. I don't see that price per square foot dipping that much. So they might get 6 months of free rent, but they're not going to get a cheaper per square foot. And the landlords, the owners of the property, that's very intentional. It's very smart of them because they want to retain the, even if it's just kind of like on paper, they want to say like, hey, I'm still getting, $40 a square foot per year for this space.
Well, I was laughing, right? Because it said the reason their vacancies were so high, and the article was taking the counter to your argument. They said, oh, it's work from home. People are never going back to the office. And then I was cracking up because when I changed the channel, like I said earlier, then you hear Jamie Dimon saying JP Morgan has to have all their employees back to work. And tech companies are saying you have to have that culture, so it's time to go back to work. And all of us here in Silicon Valley, the freeways are telling me not only are people back, but they're back big time. Totally.
Yeah, it's just what channel you're tuned into in that moment, because you're going to get conflicting information everywhere. And as we doom scroll and we watch different news outlets, we do hear conflicting information, right?
Oh,
And
conflicting and so much information. It's
yeah, and that's why it's so important, I think, even more now than ever, that you are partnered with somebody that you trust, that is going to give you accurate information, that's going to do smart research, not just Google it or not just go on ChatGPT, but really go into the trenches and do the research to provide you with the data that's accurate.
That's great. So office, you said you actually look at it when you hear those negative headlines. Where else are you looking? What other opportunities do you see?
I think right now it's a very unique time because through the One Big Beautiful Bill, whether you love it or hate it, it did provide the United States with something unique, which is bonus depreciation for specific asset classes. So I know a lot of companies are using that to do depreciation on like things like trucks and other assets. But for it specific to real estate, you're able to take, so say you have a building, it's $1 million. And you're going to take, say, rule of thumb is a lot of times it's 75% of that number. So 750,000. And that number is going to be the structure, the roof, the HVAC system, the windows, everything physically tied to that building that is a depreciable asset. Traditionally, we would take that number of 750 and divide that by 39 and a half years. So you would take a little bite-sized chunk of depreciation every year to offset whatever gains you're getting from that income. So that worked for a long time, but now with this One Big Beautiful Bill, it's back again. We had it a few years back, and then it tapered down, and now in 2025, it's back at 100%. It's called 100% bonus depreciation, and what that means is you take that number of 750. Let's hypothetically use that as a number, and you take that year one. So instead of using 39 and a half years, you can front load that, use it year one. Whatever you don't use this year can roll over to 2026. I just want to say that I am not a certified CPA, but
throwing the
you need to
disclosures.
speak with someone.
Full
I think
transparency.
Todd and Kevin have a friend. That one thing I do know, and I could say with confidence, I shout it from the rooftops because it is such a huge benefit to real estate investors.
If that's a passive loss, right?
But that is, yeah.
And you have to offset that with passive income. You can't use it against active income, can you?
You would have to speak with your CPA.
That's a good answer.
I have an answer in my mind, but yeah, I would say speak with your CPA.
Yeah.
But the idea behind it is, hey, keep those dollars inside of your bank account instead of sending it to, basically paying it in taxes. You're actively using that money today, reinvesting in the American economy. I am a true patriot. I love America. I buy American stocks. I believe in the genius that happens inside of our country. all of the technology that we're creating, all the new medication we're creating, and what better place to invest it, right? So I think with the money that you're saving from that bonus depreciation benefit, reinvest it back into real estate, reinvest that, put it back into stocks, but really use that as a vehicle to build wealth, generational wealth.
You've said generational wealth a few times, and you're striking a chord with Kevin and I in the firm, because that's exactly what we focus on. And you and I were talking about this earlier. Your CPA focuses only on such a narrow time frame, and then you have the wealth advisor that focuses on a little bit longer time frame, and then your trust and estate planning that goes for the longer term. And you and I've had this conversation multitudes of times.
Sure.
To bring those all together, not only from an implementation standpoint, like you and I focus on, but now from a diversified asset, but look at it from the similar way, is absolutely fascinating. What do you see as some of the biggest pitfalls or missed opportunities from some of the clients you talk to?
Somebody I know inside of the real estate space, and he only invests in real estate. It's his passion. Every dollar he makes, he only puts it into real estate. So he rides those cycles up and down. And I would say you have to diversify, or you don't have to. You can do whatever you want. It's a free country, right? But I would say that it would behoove you not to. So really understanding, like, hey, if the missed opportunity is when you don't understand how money works. The missed opportunity is not capturing knowledge because it's readily available. All that information is out there for us to take. So any missed opportunity, it's because you're sitting back and being lazy and you're not hungry for it.
I would go back to any time that there is fear in the market is the time that you should be looking for those opportunities. Because when people are fearful to get in, then that creates space for investors to come in and take advantage of that.
And I'll tell you right now, fear exists inside of the market.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and I'm sure you hear it from when you're speaking with your clients. You hear it on the news, but yeah, and that's a very real thing. But we are smarter than that. We know that right now it's a phenomenal time to borrow money. Money is still very cheap. There's so much opportunity out there. And if you want to invest in something with a big security blanket, there's always multifamily, because people will always need a place to live.
You say that money's cheap, but a lot of our investors, a lot of our clients have never experienced more expensive money than what we're seeing today.
Oh, that's
So
interesting. Yeah.
tell me about
'Cause
your
you're young,
experience.
right?
Why are you saying
Anyway, 40 and younger.
Exactly.
interest rates have just gone up 3%?
Well, I remember my parents immigrated here from South Korea, and they owned a business. They were able to save money, and they bought their first house. And the interest rate on that first house, I was in grade school, was 18%. And I just remember that thinking, and they were like, oh, wow, it's under 20%. This is amazing. Somebody's going to give us money to buy a house at 18%. And then, of course, interest rates have dramatically fallen in our favor since then. But just remembering that, thinking, oh my gosh, it could be 18%. But right now it's a lot. Buying a house, it's a lot cheaper.
Even a 6-7% is
Correct.
less than the 18.
Yeah. And I do follow, even though I work in the CRE space, I follow the housing market very closely, because I think it's a strong indicator of how our economy is doing. Are young people able to afford houses? Where are they migrating to? If it's a booming college town, once they graduate, are they staying in that town and finding jobs, or are they going back home? So all those things, I think, are good predictors of how the CRE is going to, kind of follow suit the next, 3 years, 5 years.
Well, to your point, you bring up the housing crisis. We just had the headline come out this year, or recently, I think it was this week or last week. The first-time homebuyer average age now is 40 years old. 40 years old.
That is astounding. It's astounding. It's sad to hear that. And also, what came out is you can do a 50-year mortgage. Did you hear that?
Exactly.
So you're 40. I mean, you're going to be 90 by the time you're done paying off your house. But it's okay. You can what's it called? Biohack and live to 150 now, so you'll be fine.
That innovation you were talking about in medical science, right?
Exactly. I'm 3D printing a new liver because I just went partying with Todd last week.
And you're putting it on the moon because there's less friction on the moon and it's going to come back. Exactly.
Totally.
No, so the innovation doesn't only carry through in creation of goods and services. It's also, to your point, getting creative on financing and being able to
Absolutely.
do that. And with interest rates hovering where they are, and the argument of are we going to cut rates or not? If I'm hearing you right, it sounds like it's get in and get active and let that start compounding as fast as possible.
Absolutely. So, the lending piece inside of CRE is very important because you're doing loans that are going to be living, 5 to 7 years, and then you're going to have to refinance. That's just a part of being inside the CRE space. And so if you can get a loan that has no prepayment penalty, you know, do a loan and then maybe in 2, 3 years you get a new loan because depending on what the market looks like. So there are a lot of like small little tricks that we have that we can put into play to make sure that we're protecting you as much as we can.
So I have $1 to invest.
Okay.
Would I take that extra dollar and put it into residential real estate or commercial real estate, and why?
So you're not getting
Single-family
much
house.
with $1.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, not in the Bay Area. I don't even think you buy a Ring doorbell. I would say 10 out of 10 times I would encourage you to put money into commercial real estate.
And why?
Because, we'll just take multifamily versus single family, for example. Say it's a $2 million home that you can rent for a lot of money versus a $2 million apartment building that's kind of like not super run down, but just kind of middle of the row. Let's say it's a Class C property, right? And it's 8 units, but fully rented. I would always choose the 8-unit apartment building because if you're doing a new roof, if you're changing out a new sewer, if you're doing anything, you're doing it for the whole building versus you're doing it for one house. So that's just, the cost, right? But also you're minimizing your risk because if that one tenant leaves in that $2 million home that you're renting out and it takes you 3 months to fill that space, that's a lot of lost revenue versus if you have 8 units and maybe one person leaves and you fill that space again, another person leaves, you fill that space. You're usually, we typically use a 3 or 5% vacancy rate inside of inside of like our calculations. Yeah.
And I bet you have a referral for fixing that sewer line for the multifamily or residential.
Yes.
As we have investors who are getting started and are more interested in taking a look at more of the commercial real estate, either the multi-unit residential or getting into strip malls, gas stations, any of those other things, what's the best way for them to get started?
I would say connect with somebody that has information. I'm happy, of course, to provide data, but a lot of it is you have to connect with somebody that is inside of commercial real estate that can educate you on what the different options are. But more than that, you have to be prepared to talk to that person inside of CRE and describe to them exactly what you want. What is your expectation? Is it to make passive income? Is it to collect depreciation? Is it to, hold it for the rest of your life? Kind of really describe to them what you want the asset to do for you, why you're purchasing it, and also when you want to purchase it. And then the person that you're partnered with, that person in CRE should be able to take that information and create kind of a best case scenario for you. But it is a custom tailored approach. Everyone's just like you guys do. I'm sure you talk to your investor, you find out what their immediate needs are, and then also what their long-term goals are. And then really custom tailor a product. For me, it's a product, right? An asset that's going to work for them.
Well, and to follow on to that, our listeners, our clients, people that we're running into in the street, they're getting inundated with, as I talked about earlier, commercials about alternatives for investing in commercial real estate. You talked about OZs, those opportunity zones.
Sure.
There's non-traded REITs. There's traded REITs. There's all these different options for them.
Sure.
You advocate owning the individual asset because now I can tailor it to it. Is that the downfall with some of these vehicles? Is it we don't know what we're really buying, or what's the downfall to some of those other options?
It's control, right? It's the ability to control exactly what you buy, when you buy it, if you want to sell it being able to sell it when you want to sell it at for what price point. It's being able to control your money. And that's the difference.
There's
Yeah,
also a lot of money that's going to the companies that put
correct.
those
Yeah,
funds together. I mean, they're making money on that as well
and they're
before you're
making
making money.
that's correct. And I mean, if you are a REIT, then awesome. We should put a syndication together. But whether that asset appreciates or does not, they're still making their fee, which is sometimes 10%, sometimes more. So they will get paid 100% of the time, and they will get paid first before you do. So as long as you're comfortable with that and you want to be a passive investor, then go ahead and invest in those vehicles. If you don't, for me personally, and for the investors that I work alongside, they want to have more of an active role in what their money is doing for them. And so I always encourage them, hey, sure, you can put $500,000 into a REIT or $500,000 into a syndication or 250 here and 250 here. But here is another option, and just being able to weigh out the pros and cons of each. And it's pretty straightforward. I just put it in a spreadsheet, and at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie.
And we'll be happy to manage that cash for you while you're waiting. We could fill in that gap too.
Yeah. And that's important, you guys. And during the times where you do sell something, if you're not doing a 1031 exchange, being able to have cash and properly manage it. Because sure, you might have 500,000 or say it's 50 million, right? It's sitting somewhere, but that money has to be working for you, because we all know, that cash is trash, etc. Inflation is a very real thing. So your money should be always, always, always growing, and you should be, providing it with love and water.
So I had an instructor when I was in the university in one of my real estate classes. He said, buy a few properties and then defer until you die. So you keep doing your 1031 exchanges. Don't ever pull the money out. Just keep building that nest egg, that passive income.
Sure.
And then he says, and then when you die, you'll have the happiest spouse ever. Because in a community property state, everything steps up in value. So then you could sell it and not pay taxes on it.
So, I do encourage my clients that put money into real estate, if they sell an asset for a profit, to keep that money growing inside of real estate.
When you own hard assets like real estate, you take on some liability as well. Do you separate out your hard assets into corporations, or do you recommend that?
100% of the time. Yeah, absolutely, I do. Because, we have, for each asset we own, it has a LLC attached to it. Make sure that you have an attorney and a trust attorney and a good CPA that is working alongside you. So as you're building wealth and as you're adding to your real estate portfolio, you're doing it in a really smart way that's going to protect you. Make sure that your paperwork is in place. Don't do it after the fact, because a lot of people do it after the fact and you can do a quick claim deed. There are a lot of inventive ways you can do it after the fact. However, you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself, right? And there are a lot of great real estate attorneys out there that will write things up between you and your tenant to protect you.
That's really good advice. And with all those LLCs out there, your tax preparer must love you.
Absolutely.
On a boat because of her.
Right. If you were to go back 15 years, what type of financial advice would you give Susan 15 years ago that might be different than what you did?
I would encourage Susan 15 years ago to, it took me a while to not listen to all the noise and to really just do my own research, trust myself. It took me a long while to get there from where I was to who I am today. But I'm very thankful for all the lessons, the hard lessons that got me to where I am today. However, if I could rewind 15 years, I'd be like, dude, just trust yourself, and don't be afraid to take risks. So I do live in a mindset set of abundance. I think I have a can-do attitude and all those things, but making sure that I'm very not afraid to take risks is very important. I think I would tell myself 15 years ago, just go for it. because it probably took 3 to 5 years for me to really get comfortable and evaluate a deal and then be able to pull the trigger.
In that abundant universe, you haven't had any failures?
I am very blessed that all the hard assets, the real estate that we've been able to purchase, they've all been wins. However, there is a fund, as you guys are talking about REITs and syndications, the OZ funds. We have done, I want to say, about 20 investments in syndications. And there's one that has been a fail, one that I had no control in, I had no say in, other than just being a part of like a quarterly Zoom meeting and listening. And of course, they ask for questions and you're typing your question all frantically. And they're like, oh, we have a lot of questions. Sorry, we couldn't get to everyone's questions. And of course, they're just cherry picking the easy ones to answer. So yeah, that happens. But you have to be prepared because in any type of investment, of course, there's risk attached. But if you are putting money with a syndication or an OZ fund and you have no control, then that means you're letting that manager have pretty much master control over your money and make all the good decisions. They 100% have a fiduciary responsibility. That is, because it's all written out, but they're going to feed themselves before they think about you.
Unfortunately, that's what we've seen from those accounts that we've reviewed and whatnot. And you said it earlier, and you brought it up on liquidity, right? That's when they put in the gates and they don't allow people to get their money out. And it's such an absolute travesty and nightmare for some of these folks that need to have that liquidity. So I'm sorry you had to experience it firsthand, but
no, I think you learn from it, right?
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And because I have that firsthand experience, I'm able to share that with my clients that, and I never say like, hey, don't do it. I'm like, hey, this is my experience. These are the pros and cons. And then you have to make your decision, because at the end of the day, like yourselves, we're advisors. We are industry professionals. We're always staying up to date on our industry trends, what's available to our clients, and then we share that information and we advise them. But at the end of the day, it's their money, it's their choice.
Well, one last question from me.
Sure.
If people want to get more information, how do they reach out to you?
They can go to cacciaproperties.com, and that's CACCIA properties.com. And I'm pretty easy to find on social media. It's just Susan Caccia. Yeah, I look forward to, working with you guys and answering any questions that people might have.
Thanks for the information.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
That's a wrap for today's episode. We hope this gave you a great glimpse into the world of commercial real estate and the opportunities that still exist. It's important not to let the headlines make your investment decisions for you. While commercial real estate market is different than a few years ago, opportunities still exist. Whether you are thinking about buying property, investing through REITs, or private funds, even just rebalancing your portfolio, it's key to stay intentional and aligned with your financial goals. If you aren't sure what those are, Potentia can help. Most importantly, as you continue to move through life's journey, be proactive, be prepared, and look out for one another. If you've enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you won't miss our future episodes. And thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Wealthness podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at potentiawealth.com or give us a call at 408-288-7886. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Potentia Wealth or Potentia RIA. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Investment advice offered through Potentia RIA LLC, a registered investment advisor.